for what promises to be a very tough game. As we pick up the action midway through the first period, the score is 0-0, and the Flyers are a man down after a hooking penalty.
Back now to Wesley. Wesley fires, save made by Reggett. Rebound finessed by Chikrin and lifted back out by Craven. So it's Wesley back to take from his goalkeeper, Andy Moog. Moog has faced only one shot in the first 12 minutes of this first period. Bruins have had 8 on Ken Reggett. Game is scoreless if you're just joining us, and we're glad you've joined us on a bitterly cold Sunday night at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Ken Reggett swings one all the way past Tocchet and down. Andy Moog has to guide that one along the boards and took the customary little bump that time from Tocchet. Back up ice with it is Bork. Bork on the Bruins power play tries the hard around. That does succeed in getting by Reggett, but right to Tocchet, who tried to tip, and no matter. The whole thing winds up being an icing call.
Let's take a look at our special teams index, which is actually a combination of the rankings of power play and penalty killing to give you the STI, the special teams index. You can see that Boston and Minnesota tied for the lowest STI in the league at 8. That's pretty darn good. St. Louis 15, Buffalo 16, and the Flyers now 5th with a rating of 17. Well, the Flyers numbers have just kept coming down and down as far as the special teams index. Obviously, the higher the number, the worse your special teams.
The poorest 3 teams in the league, if you're curious: Vancouver 19th, Pittsburgh 20th, and Detroit 21st in both categories, both power play and penalty killing. St. Louis and Buffalo 1-1 in the first. Hull has gotten his 20th, and it is Turgeon, Pierre Turgeon, with a splendid year as well for the Buffalo Sabres, getting his 15th. So they are 1-1. We are 0-0 here with 7:20 to go in the first period. 55 seconds left on the Bruins power play. That one skipped off Brickley, and Reggett having a little uncustomary trouble with it, but is able to hang on.
You know, part of the success the Flyers might have been having in their penalty killing is the neutral zone play. On both of the last rushes, the Bruins have been forced to dump. When you're forced to dump, players aren't usually reading that dump, and you don't have a flow going for you. When you're forced to dump, it's usually as a result of your rush breaking down. And when the Bruins have dumped, the Flyers have been able to get control right away. The time before this, when Reggett actually dumped it out.
Boy, those numbers are impressive, aren't they? In an era when we don't see goals against averages hardly below 2.5. Let alone down in that range. Now, that's just for the last 6 starts, but that's very impressive. Here is Bork holding. Fanned on a shooting attempt, and it is Mark Howe trying to bring it back up. Fell, though. Punched it further, but it is Carpenter dropping it back in deep. 38 seconds to go on the power play. Puck lifted by Karkner, off of Bork. Pivoting to control is Carpenter. Deals it back off, and Burridge with a shot that is blocked off by Howe. Mark Howe right back after it. Tries to bump it along. Help came from Poulin. Couldn't clear it past Bork. Good keep by Bork, and across it comes. For play to the corner by Galley. Injured is a Bruin on the play. It is, I believe, Bobby Carpenter who is down.
Right of your screen, near the top. Watch Reggett. He's got Bobby Carpenter in front of him moving. Reggett gives him a jab. Midsection or lower. That just crumpled Bobby Carpenter. It didn't look like it was much of a hit.
Carpenter was nowhere near the crease at the time either. Reggett was right out the very edge of it, you may have noticed, and so it didn't look like there was any kind of encroachment that he was warning him against. But
boy, there aren't many goaltenders that won't take a poke at you sooner or later, though. I mean, that is their territory, and they try and protect it any way they can. And that tells you what the referee is up against. I mean, how is Morrell going to see that as well as everything else? So goaltenders can get pretty good licks in now and again and not get caught at it.
I remember Billy Smith used to just courageously defend his territory, not only verbally on and off the ice, but also on the ice with his stick, and he used to have tremendous arguments for it. And he had his logic very well in mind. He said, I'm all alone out there. The officials don't help us a whole lot. They stand in the crease when it's rectangular. They stand in it when it's semicircular. Nobody calls anything. What's a guy to do?
Try and hurt people, I guess. And I think that was the big objection to how Billy Smith went at it at times. I mean, he went after you with a great amount of zeal, shall we say.
Part of the Islanders coaching group is a goaltender coach consultant with 4 Stanley Cup rings on his fingers. Carpenter is going to be helped off, so we'll try to get word on the nature of the injury and pass it along to you. 6:39 to go in the first period. No score in the game, and Dennis Morrell did not see it. I'm sure the Bruins are upset about that, but Morrell just now turned his palms up saying, look, I can't call what I can't see, although our cameras saw clearly that Reggett gave him the end of the stick. Sutter to take the draw with Lintzman. Still 16 seconds to go on the Bruins' second power play of the game. We have no score, 6:35 left in the first period. Bork trying to get in past Tocchet. Bork able to swing it back. Lintzman fires one, and that one hit the outside of the goal. It is Cam Neely to get it. Neely with a pass. Bork tries to dance away from Tocchet. Second effort, and Bork is able to control. Moves right back in. Fires. Stick save made by Reggett, and Joyce had a good screen set up in front. Tocchet and Lintzman just now getting up at center ice as the play laid back to Bork. Penalty time up, and the teams are back at full strength. 6:10 left in the first and no score. Flyers still with that one shot. The Bruins have 10. Tocchet's pass is off of Ron Sutter, and finesse back off the wall by Wesley along for Neely. Neely tries to swing it around, gets it only as far as Reggett. Dumped back along by Kartner. Pinching the boards, though, is Joyce trying to keep it moving. Nudges onto Neely. Good shot and a stick save. Joyce tries to step through. Down he goes on the lean of Chychrun. And back up with it is Sutter. This one cut off, though, by Wesley. Hands it across for Jim Weimer. Weimer's pass directed back in by Joyce, and it flies on one hop right into the glove of Ken Reggett. Kartner to take it there as the Bruins have made a change. They have Miller out along with Hawgood, and the other winger is Sameta. Taking this one now is Smith. This one ricocheted off of Weimer back to the Wesley corner. Poked along the boards, though, by Dave Poulin and dug out by Smith. Smith around in front, and it rolled off his stick as he tried to stuff her. Loose puck brought back up by the Bruins. They've got the Flyers outmanned. Headman pass comes to Sameta. Has a man up the wing. Hawgood fires, hits the post, and the rebound is chipped back across by Poulin as the rebound, fortunately for the Flyers, unfortunately for the Bruins, kicked right past Sameta. Now it's struck along by Sinisalo, but drilled to the net. This one cut off by Huffman. Advances it up the wing, but too far for Dave Poulin. Icing will be called as Bork is back to touch up. 4 minutes and 48 seconds to go in the first period. We have no score.
Watch this and listen while you're watching. Yeah, goaltender can tell when it's off the post, can't he?
Has a different sort of clink than when it hits the back of the net, doesn't it?
You mean the mesh or the metal part?
Yeah, the metal part. Also, the reaction of the crowd tends to be a little different then, too. Off the face-off, this one squirts by. 11 shots for the Bruins, not counting the one post, and one shot for the Flyers. That one poke-checked right off Wells and grabbed by an alert Ken Reggett.
Boy, you've got to be so careful against the Bruins. They really forecheck well. They'll send two men in most of the time, and they have been doing that tonight so far. And then with their third guy, they'll block the center lane. So if you come out, you've got to come out on one side or the other. They won't give you the middle of the ice trying to get out of your end. And by moving it up to one side, by forcing you to move it up one side, then they can bring one of their defensemen into the play, possibly on a pinch, and really hold the puck in the zone.
Well, I'm headed to Kmart tomorrow for new batteries for my crystal ball, because boy, did it fog up on this one tonight. I thought we were going to see a lot of rock'em sock'em, a lot of crunching, but it's been sort of quiet thus far. This one flipped right into the glove of Reggett by Galley, and across it is taken by Tocchet. Tries to move back out and drops this one into the glove of Burridge. Burridge hit by Tocchet, and the puck cut off now by Murphy. Murphy with a pass that is just bunted right back out by Bobby Gould. Wells swings it back in, and Moog sets it up behind. Now it's Peterson to get it. 4 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the first period. We have no score here from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. This one chipped along by Wells and taken by Craven. Murray Craven's pass comes across to Murphy. And dropped back in again. If the Bruins get there, it'll be another icing against the Flyers, and that's the case. So back it'll come near Reggett.
This is pretty well the week of the Adams division. You can see Buffalo and Hartford are in here after the Washington Caps.
Well, the Flyers this year have had stretches of 10 and 12 minutes even before they got their first shot. Tonight, as I recall, it came at about the 9 or 10 minute mark of the first period, and it is the only shot that they've had.
Well, you can see the Bruins come by their ranking as the top defensive team in the National Hockey League legitimately, don't they? One shot so far in 16 minutes on home ice for the Flyers.
Their defensive average is at 2.62, while most of the rest of the free and non-free world is well above a 3. Kimmich, I'm not sure about. They'll be starting that Soviet series in Los Angeles this week. Puck drilled back around the boards, and it is tapped by Dave Poulin. Poulin with a pass ahead that is directed away and then controlled back up by the Bruin defense. And we're working with this as Carter rammed right into Lyndon Byers, and that's a solid oak that he just hit. Here's Smith hatcheting one right on goal, and a save made by Moog. Now it is Bork around the boards, and it's brought back up by Hawgood. Moving with Byers. Hammers one off the corner glass, and it skipped behind to Reggett. Reggett had to hurry it along. Derek Smith is there, but he's rushed tightly by Carter. Now Howe tries to guide it away. Stick loose, but it is Huffman trying to pump it along. And Kerry Huffman is able to step away. Huffman leading the rush out. The Bruins in the midst of a change as the pass came across, and it's thrown back out by Don Sweeney of the Bruins defense, but he gets it back again from Sinisalo and just plays a safety back over to Bork. Just over 3 minutes to play in a scoreless first period. Neely stepping ahead for the Bruins, tries to finesse it through but can't. It's off Chikrin and taken by Kartner. Banked along the boards, and Berube puts on a heavy check. Gets the puck back across to Bullard. Bullard trying to start away. Acton stick held, so Bullard with no one to pass to just deals it in on Moog, who swings it back off to Carter, and Carter set it back down the ice. Kartner back for it, but Linzman may get there first. Nope, Kartner's body position paid off. Touches it up for the icing that'll bring the faceoff back near Moog.
You know, the Flyers had pretty good preparation for this hockey game tonight in playing the Washington Caps. There are a lot of similarities between the Caps and the Bruins. 2 and 3 games ago, they played the Pittsburgh Penguins, which wouldn't have been any use at all to prepare for the Boston Bruins.
Really, their next 3 games are going to be all alike, aren't they?
Yeah, you bet they are.
Washington here Tuesday, and then Thursday night the Buffalo Sabres. Quebec may be a little different on Saturday up at Le Palais. And then the Rangers next Sunday. So they're hitting some of the iron right now, as you see Ken Linzman. Linzman bothered by injury in the fall, and the Bruins really missed him, but they have him back now and going great guns. He's in against another of the pests of the league, Keith Acton. With 2:40 to go in the first period, we have no score. Bullard and Berube, the wingers for Acton, and Bullard will come in as Acton is chased. Chikrin and Kartner, the defense. They square off, and the puck won by the Bruins again. It is Wesley bouncing one behind that was left behind by Weimer and nearly converted by Acton. Now it is along to Berube, stepped into by Linzman. Acton again, given a ride along the boards, this time by Weimer. Berube tries to step free. Little pass, shunted right behind by Weimer again, and Jim Weimer doing some good close-in work for the defense. Then a shot by Chikrin. That one snuffed right out by Joyce. Tossed back out, and Kartner has it. Kartner lays it back up the wing for Mike Bullard, the hero of Friday night's game at the Cap Center in Washington. This one is handled by Berube. Chased off by Joyce, drops it back ahead, and just check. That's the story of the Bruins as they force the Flyers back. On with this is Bullard. Cannot get by Wesley. And Wesley drops one back in deep. It's Reggett to 10, and Murphy to take. Gord Murphy starts in front, nearly hooked off by Neely, but passes up the wing, and Keith Acton flies ahead. He's got a man breaking. It's Craven. The pass comes back to him. Acton tries to center one, but that one cut off by Galley on defense. And it is Gary Galley bringing it back out for the Bruins. Galley's shot hurts Murphy. Then another drive by Joyce skipped off Reggett and went wide. Around it is wound for Craven, and it's just turned back out where Alan Peterson is waiting for the Bruins to keep that pressure on. It is dumped along, and Reggett lets it go to Wells. Wells along for Craven, who pivots. Weak pass, but it will be gathered in by Tocchet and sent on for Gord Murphy. Poke checked away from him, and here come the Bruins in again. Up the wing, it is Linzman. Drops it back. Brickley a shot, and that one went off the glass. Turned back along, and it's Craven. Can't get it through Bork's pinching, and boy, are the Bruins putting on a clinic at checking. Back up now through Sutter, and back down. Turning back for this is Don Sweeney. Wheels behind his own net, drives it back out to Burridge. Burridge passing across now to Andy Brickley with 50 seconds to go in the period. Brickley with no room to get in, just throws it off, and Huffman will take. Terry Huffman's pass is up the wing to Tocchet. Slides it ahead for Derek Smith. Steps by one. Chased off by Bork. Tocchet a quick shot, and right on him was Hawgood. And it is dropped right back out again by Byers. It is Howe across to Huffman. And Huffman plays the heart around for the Flyers, hoping to get it to Derek Smith. Wedged off by Joyce. Thrown along by Bork. Huffman will get there in time. Huffman tries to play it in deep. This one blocked off by the defense again, and it's cleared back into the Flyers' end. 12 seconds to go in the period. Flyers with 3 shots, and the Bruins with 13. Here is Sinisalo trying to fight free from Don Sweeney, and then coming by to check him was Joyce. Joyce just throws it behind. Bork takes it, the horn sounds, and the first period comes to a close. No scoring in that first period. 13 Bruins shots. They had 10 of the first 11. The Flyers that period had 3 shots on goal. So, the goalkeeping of Moog, the goalkeeping of Reggett predominates in a 0-0 game. Saves is the number of shots. 0-0 as we begin this second period of play. Andy Brickley will take the face-off to begin the period with Ron Sutter. It is Don Sweeney. Bob Sweeney, those of you just joining us, was hurt in the game last night against St. Louis and is one of the scratches for the Bruins tonight. Bork connects back on to Randy Burridge. Dumps it back off, and Mark Howe can tip back on to Tocchet. Tocchett's pass flew through Craven and is handled by Bork. It is Bork with a pass up the wing to Burridge. Checked tightly and given a shove by Huffman. Puck gloved down by Don Sweeney. Lays one through, but past Bobby Gould, and out to get it is Reggett. Drops it right back off again for Craven. Flies one off the near wall, and Tocchet tries to play. Poked along by Don Sweeney, but Tocchet gets it to Howe. Howe back for Tocchet. Tightly checked by Sweeney. Puck flipped by Bork. Nice regather by Howe. Deals it back off to Sutter. Flips one in front. Off of Moog after striking off of Bork, too. And it is controlled by the Bruins defense and just laid back along. Kept from going the length by Sutter. Spins it back over to Howe. A ricochet number that went off Bork, it appeared, and then also off a prone Andy Moog.
Boy, there were bodies flying everywhere, but that's the idea. The Flyers have to get somebody in front, and they have to get some type of rubber at Andy Moog. I mean, after only 3 shots in the first period, he's got to be, if nothing else, cold right now. He needs a warm-up.
I'm not sure if that was for having 8 or 9 men on the ice, or if they've just decided to call an offside here. Dennis Morrell drifts back toward Lou Nolan, who's celebrating a birthday today, our public address announcer.
Well, Dennis Morrell had the abacus working on this one. I don't even think he needed an electronic calculator. 2 minutes for too many men on the ice for the Bruins as they come up ice. And we've seen this a couple of times in games of late, the puck ending up over by the boards and one of the players in the middle of a change playing the puck. You can't play it intentionally. If it hits you, that's one thing. If you pick it up intentionally and you're one of the 2 guys in the middle of a change and the guy you're replacing is not off the ice yet, you're stuck. And the Bruins are stuck. Here's that screen chance. Boy, Mark Howe generated the whole deal with that pass to Ron Sutter, and then all Sutter did was quickly get it in front. Murray Craven tipped it with his foot with the toe of his skate. Both Tocchet and Ray Bork went down. Craven went down as well.
Mike Miller will serve the bench minor, and the Flyers will swing onto their second power play of the game. They failed in their previous attempt back in the first period. Shots are 13-4. The Flyers have the only shot in the period, and you just saw it. And it is Tocchet to take this draw with Linseman. Now, Tocchet will have Sinisalo and Bullard up front with him, and in back it'll be Howe and Kerry Huffman. The Bruins go with Galley and Peterson on the defense, and Neely and Linseman up front. Bork is not out right now, and that's a rare exception. He had played 12 minutes in the first period of 20 minutes, and that's about normal for him in the game. This one flicked back along by Howe, but they rule it with the high stick, and so the face-off will go all the way back.
Now, you see, we thought Paul Holmgren was going for the Pat Riley look, but he got another trim, didn't he? Flat top all the way. He may have read Pat Riley's book, but he doesn't want a hairstyle like his. He reads a lot of coaches' books. He's in the middle of reading Rick Pitino's book, and he's read all of John Wooden's stuff. Pat Riley said the coaches he respects are the guys that are repeat winners. Glenn Sather, Al Arbor, Pat Riley, guys like that. And the coaches that he disrespects are guys that take credit for the wins.
If Paul Holmgren starts reading Patton and Rommel, we know to expect even more fire in the days ahead. Ahead with us now is Bullard. Bullard back up the wing, and it's Craven dropping it on to Tocchet. Tocchet chased off, able to feed it to the back to Howe, spins it across. Huffman one-timer, scorched wide off the back of the goal. Tocchet has Craven in front, but that tipped away by Lintzman, and so the Flyers will go back. 1:15 to go on their power play. 18 minutes remaining in the second period of our game tonight from the Spectrum between the Flyers and the Bruins, which is scoreless. Andy Moog and Ken Reggett are the goaltenders. It is Tocchet flipping, but Galley taking, putting it right back into the glove of Howe. Then it comes on for Bullard. Back to Howe, then to Tocchet, and quickly back to Huffman. Hands over to Craven. Craven has trouble controlling. Hacks one in front. Knocked down by Tocchet, but drilled along the boards and back out by Lintzman.
Boy, the Bruins play a pressure game even when they're a man down. You hardly have any time when you're standing around, so you've got to know what you're going to do with the puck on the power play even before you get it.
Bob Carpenter, slashed by Ken Reggett in the first period, is back out now in this shorthanded situation. Clock is down to 34 seconds the Bruins have to kill. Carter tried to drill it back out. Puck punched along by Tocchet off of Sutter and gathered in by Wesley. Wesley bounces one, and it's kept alive by Kartner. Terry Kartner trying to step by. Hooked at, but still gets there. But there were 4 Bruins around him. Did you see them? Back it comes now for Tocchet. His drive, and that deflected away. Kartner moves in. Terry Kartner sends one in front, and Tocchet shot it wide. Tocchet again to the point. Murphy a shot, and that one slowed. Bouncing puck, fought off and then held by Moog. 4 seconds left on the power play. Well, this time, at least the Flyers got a chance to tee up some shots.
Well, you know, it doesn't matter how hot the pursuit is. If you can get something through to the goal, you're going to end up with a decent scoring chance. Kartner, from a reverse angle look at it, tried to slip it through to Tocchet, and Tocchet got the rebound off the boards back to Gordon Murphy. If you can just get it through. That's why very often when you have a team that's so aggressive killing penalties, the guys that get it back on the point aren't afforded the luxury that they usually are of standing and taking a look and deciding, well, am I going to shoot, am I going to pass? The Flyers are going to have to think shoot very quickly and get guys out there to support. If the top guys on the kill are out that close to the blue line, there's got to be space between them and the guys that are backing them up. But sometimes they'll even bring those back guys up and leave the people in front all alone. So they work as a unit up and down. You got to be fast.
It's interesting to watch, based on what you've just said, too, Bill. We've got only 3 seconds on this power play. Let's kind of make mental note of that for later. They score! Murphy threw one, and it was tipped high by Dave Poulin. Not a power play goal, but the Flyers lead 1-0.
If you can get it away and have time to get it towards the net, good things happen. Dave Poulin, we wondered if he'd be able to take faceoffs. This is his first game back from a broken thumb. And Dave Poulin was flattened right onto his face. He won the draw, got it back to the point to Murphy, and then went to the slot and was flattened. You might be able to see it at the top of your screen. There he is, top right of your screen, right on his face. Got up, deflected it on the backhand side of his stick right up over Andy Moog. So that was all Dave Poulin doing, boy. He won the draw, then got flattened, then deflected it. Flyers lead 1-0.
It was 2 seconds after the penalty time to the Bruins for having too many men on the ice had passed. Boy, what muscle work there by Derek Smith. Puck came along to Bork in a 4-man sandwich. Now we'll regroup and try to battle, and then Chychrun sends a man down. That was Joyce, and then Lintzman. Puck flipped back over to Bork. Bork's pass is checked off of Lintzman, back up the boards, brushed loose by Terry Kartner. Kartner able to control, wipes out the delayed offside, and here come the Flyers again. Poulin moving right in to Sullivan, a shot and a save made by Moog. In to get this one is Derek Smith, but we get a halt to play. 16:01 to go in the second. Flyers ahead 1-0. Play stopped by a hand pass. Murphy gets the assist, and the only assist on Poulin's goal at 3:15. Poulin's 4th of the year and 1st in over a month, because he has been sitting all that time with the broken thumb. Here's Murphy flipping just beyond the thumb of Peterson. Peterson to take it for the Bruins defense. Second thought and second effort. And this one knocked down by Acton. Fed it to the slot where he thought Berube was, but instead he wound up with Galley. Puck knocked down by Berube and hooked ahead by Hawgood. Trying to shoot it in was Miller. And it is Acton there, run into the boards by Hawgood as it's dropped back out by Berube. 15 and a half minutes to go, second period of play. The Flyers have just scored a couple of minutes ago and have a 1-0 lead. Now Bullard very close to Andy Moog, and Moog raises his stick in a threatening motion toward Bullard.
You know what happened? Bullard was going in front, and he raised his stick when he was moving in front, but Moog got the worst of it.
Here's Acton shooting, and that one saved by Moog. Oh, and then Bullard went into the goal crease, and Andy Moog went down, and Dennis Morrell gets right there quickly.
Well, Mike Bullard got the worst of that one, but I think he's going to laugh last. You got to figure that Morrell is going to call one on Andy Moog unless he calls it intentional. But the first time they came together, here's what happened. See Andy Moog with his stick up, but Mike Bullard just caught Andy Moog's left skate and pulled him down. So that's what I said. Moog got his stick up, but he got the worst of it. Little threatening gesture right there. Now the second time, from a reverse angle, it looked like this. Moog with the save, Mike Bullard with one leg up, and then, Moog just went after him. I mean, that's...
Boston penalty number 35, Andy Moog, 2 minutes for high stick.
Well, in a tight hockey game like this, you've got to look at every power play as a key play, and every penalty as a key call. So the ones that are just disciplined breakdowns, where your temper gets the better of your head, have to be the ones that you got to wonder if they're going to cost you. I mean, you really got to keep a cool head in a game that's going to be this tight.
Well, Moog gets the minor, and the Bruins have had a minor for too many men, and a minor now for the high stick to their goalkeeper, who will have to keep his composure here. The Flyers have already gotten him for one in the second period. Got a lot of respect for Moog, aside from controversial plays such as this one, which was mildly that. There was a guy who could have very well stayed in Edmonton for a number of years and not played very much and been a part of a great deal of success and decided, look, my skills are going to erode if I do this. And so he belligerently decided, look, I'm going to challenge this, and if need be, I'll go someplace else. And he did.
And you know, he almost went to Los Angeles last year when they were hunting around for goaltenders, and they got Kelly Rudy. Wayne Gretzky was really trying to talk the Kings into working out a deal with the Bruins. He wanted Andy Moog on his side, but then when they landed Kelly Rudy from the Islanders, that deal just stopped cold.
Here's Howe. Gives to Huffman. Then along to Bullard. Huffman again. Bullard pops one over to Craven. Flips, and it comes back to Kerry Huffman. Drops it along to Bullard. Flips it in front, but that hooked off by Wesley, and Wesley sends it all the way back down. Ken Regan handles this and tends over to Huffman. 14:50 to go in the second period. Flyers ahead in the game 1-0 on Dave Poulin's goal. Craven taps, but it's Bork up with it for the Bruins, and Bork sends it back down. Bruins are without a shot in the second period. The Flyers have had the first 5. Part of that owing to their second power play in the period. Along now is Craven to drop one in deep. Andy Moog there to knock it down, and Moog just swings it along. Bruins try to wall out everyone to let it go by. It doesn't work, though. Wesley put one off of Craven, but it's punched back out by Andy Brickley, and Reggett comes charging out again. Off the stick of Mark Howe, and picked up by Brickley. Here's Brickley moving in. Shovels one over, and a shot by Bobby Gould is knocked down. Mike Bullard back for the Flyers. Penalty time down to 50 seconds. 14 minutes left in the second. 1-0 Flyers as a drive by Murphy went wide. Now it's Tocchet to play. Given a good lick from behind by Bork. Puck chopped right back around by Moog. Still they work it, and back up ice with it comes Brickley again. Crosses and picks up Bork. The shovel is to Bork, then back to Brickley, but Gould had already gone back in. Bruins conservatively just dropped one that's cut off by Murphy and sent back ahead now for Kartner. Barry Kartner centers, chopped away by Tocchet. Shovel shot by Sutter, turned aside by Moog. Brickley on second effort is able to get it back out. 15 seconds left on the power play. They try to connect again with Sutter. Sutter shoved to the corner by Peterson, who goes in. Carter there as well. Carter trying to pick it loose, and it is underneath Peterson, and the Bruins succeed in getting a stoppage of play with 4 seconds to go on the Philadelphia power play. As you see, close up Alan Peterson.
You know, one thing that's impressed me about Andy Moog over the last season is that his puck handling has gotten so much better. Grant Fuhr always had the reputation in Edmonton as being the guy that really could wheel it. But you've seen a couple of times tonight that Andy Moog is quick. He's a good skater. He's able to get behind the net and knock down that hard around that the Flyers are trying. And then he's jumping up the boards and out the middle pretty well. Some of Alan Peterson's work, you saw his stats there, 210 pounds. He was just a gawky kid when he was drafted a few years ago, about 185. So he had to beef up, and he beefed up a couple of years ago too much. He went to 205 from about 185 all at once, and he said it just threw him off. So he put together a slower weight gain program, and as a result is a much stronger defenseman. He's a good player. He's an underrated defensive defenseman.
Flyers must drop out to center. Gee, watching that last replay, I was just curious, and I think the rule book says that you're not allowed to play with two sticks, but Ron Sutter had his, and he also had Peterson's held pretty well. Puck brought back up ice now. It is Bobby Carpenter unwinding for a shot that is just snared by Reggett. Reggett spins it back along, and Derek Smith is able to bring it back up ice. The teams are back at full strength. 14 shots Bruins, 9 shots for the Flyers. 1-0 Flyers lead with 12:45 to go in the second period. Moog went down, and we have a delayed penalty call coming up against the Flyers. It is Byers shuffling one back in. Going to get it is Reggett. And with that tap, it'll be a power play coming up for the Boston Bruins. A lot of the action we thought would go near Reggett, it's gone at the other end.
We'll show you the penalty to Dave Poulin. Andy Moog went behind. You can see that he actually braced himself and moved a little bit in front of Dave Poulin, but Dennis Morrell called that one on Dave Poulin. Goaltenders will do that so often. They'll take just a little sidestep to get in your way, and if they make it look good, if you haven't seen that they're the guy that has really moved for the pick, you get called on it. I think his lobbying probably did some good. His complaining after that last call, when he took the high sticking penalty, we could see him talking to Dennis Morrell, and then Morrell nodding as if to say, okay, I'll watch him. I'll make sure you get protected.
Just like great baseball managers and football coaches, when you see it's gone against you, you argue for the next one. Well, Lintzman will see another centerman come in. That'll be Craven. Now he has Bork behind him at the left, Wesley across on the right, Joyce to his immediate right, and Neely on the left. Those are the 5 Bruins on this power play. The third of the game for Boston. Big drive, and that one sealed right up by Reggett. And a little something afterward between Neely and Sutter.
Boy, Ken Lintzman has had a strong game so far on the draws. He won this one clean back to Ray Bork, and that's just a one-timer. Over on the other side to Gary Galley, number 28 of the Bruins. It's so hard to react defensively when you lose the draw clean. And your face-off philosophy has to be different depending on whether it's a power play, whether you're out there at a disadvantage, or whether it's even in your zone or not. In your end, you got to make sure that you don't lose it clean before you win it. And that time, Lintzman won another one clean from Ron Sutter.
Galley to Lintzman. Has Neely in the slot, but he's watched right now. Craven working on him. Bork came all the way in, and that one blocked off by Murphy. Now it is Bork. Handing to the back to Galley and across to Lintzman again. To the back, Galley shoots one, and that knocked down by Sutter. Brought on by Bork, but they have to play at center ice. 30 seconds gone on the Bruins power play as Lintzman walks in with it. Has Neely breaking, but that one cut off by Howe and just dropped back out. Flyers will make a change. They bring out Rick Tocchet to work up front. Craven comes off, so it's Tocchet and Sutter with Howe and Murphy in back. Moving on with this and playing the heart around the glass is Bork. Swirls back over near Galley, and he can take it easily, dropping it back behind to Joyce. Joyce wanted to drop it back, but Howe read that play well. Along the boards, they still work for it, and it's punched loose where contending are Neely and Sutter. Still the battle on. Neely goes right back after it again. It's Neely pointing it to Bork. His shot, and that one went wide. Perhaps Reggett got a piece of it as it was steaming in. This one slips off the glove of Galley. Reacts nicely to Neely. What a finesse move by Neely, not once but twice to keep play moving. Neely tried to center and fanned on it. 2 out of 3, not bad. Back to the point it comes to Bork. Then over to Galley again. His shot. Save made by Reggett. And check that. That was Glenn Wesley with the big drive.
Ray Bork gets so much ice time that he'll start the power play on the left point with Galley on the right point, and then halfway through they'll sneak Galley off and Wesley on, and Ray Bork goes over to the right side and lets Wesley play the left side. Here's one of the shots right here by Ray Bork when he was still out there on the left side.
10 shots total in the period. The Flyers had the first 6, and only one of those came on their 2 power plays. And the Bruins with the next 4 shots.
Well, you talk about focus. I remember when the Flyers lost a 1-0 game here a couple of weeks ago to the Winnipeg Jets in overtime. There was only 1 goal scored. It was scored by Doug Smale. But 6 days later, Ken Reagan said to me, "Who was that scored on me in that game?" And he said, "Where did it go in the net?" He didn't care who scored it. He didn't care where it went. He never looked back at the net. He just skated off and started thinking about the next game. That was already behind him, and he was starting to focus on what was ahead.
Interesting. Here's Bork. Finessing in. Tried to get it across, and just an extra reach by Chychrun prevailed as Semeta was waiting. And back down it comes where Andy Moog handles. 17 shots for the Bruins, 9 for the Flyers, 1-0 Flyers, 10:45 to go, second period. Glad you're with us tonight, watching this game wherever in North America you might be seeing it. Bork with a shot, that tipped loose. Down to the ice goes Semeta. Semeta able to hook it back along to Burridge. Burridge with quite a battle on his hands there with the stick checking of Kartner. Penalty time up. Burridge pivots, locked up and taken cross-body right to the boards by Craven. Along it is sent to Dave Poulin. Starts it back up. He's got Chychrun bringing up on the play now, and it is a 3-on-2. Poulin hit to the boards, got it through to Chychrun. Right to the boards and glass. He's taken by Andy Brickley. Now this is more like Bruins Flyers, isn't it? Ahead with it now is Burridge. And Burridge drops one back in deep. Terry Kartner goes back to get it. Kartner pivoting as the Bruins make a change, bringing out Carpenter to work along with Carter and Byers. And the defense combination winds up being Peterson along with Galley. This will be icing against the Flyers, and Galley is down to touch up. The guy who wore number 26 for so many years there out of Cornell University. Or check that, Colgate. Oh, he'll be offended. Puck comes back now to Peterson. Shoots one, and that one snared by Reggett. Dealt right off to Wells. Down to the ice. We get a stoppage of play, and this time it'll be a penalty on Reggett. And so the Bruins will get a power play. A couple of successive ones. Poulin off on a trip, and then Ken Reggett gets a slashing minor.
A reverse angle look at it. You'll see that Reagan had an easy time with that shot. Nice snare, but there he got a stick. Up on Bob Joyce, I guess.
Well, I don't remember him being as active with the stick in some of the earlier games as he's become lately.
But I have to think that there's a bit of residual from that non-call on Bobby Carpenter in the first period, that Morrell is looking for it now, so Ken Reagan has to be extra careful. Morrell had to know he missed something. Carpenter didn't go down on his own, so it didn't take much, but Morrell now is watching both Moog and Ken Reggett.
Bruins will put out Hawgood to work along with Bork. Hawgood, very versatile. He has been a centerman, although oftentimes he doesn't take the face-off as a center. He winds up playing that position, as you see the man who will take the face-off, Andy Brickley. Neely out working with him as Brickley will try to win it away from Ron Sutter. Burridge is the other wing for the Bruins. Fans becoming impatient, and Ron Sutter is too. Off the face-off, the puck goes to the corner, and Howe is there, ridden off by Burridge. 2 Flyers, 3 Bruins battle away. Walking away with it now is Neely. Neely sidesteps the checking of Sutter, though it was knocked off his stick, and the puck came back over for Tocchet to send it back down.
You know, when you're on the power play, you can only beat so many guys, but the whole idea is you don't have to beat anybody. There has to be somebody open if they're supporting you, if they get to you, and that time Neely tried to beat one guy too many by himself.
Bork wraps it around. Tocchet the first to get there, and touches it for an icing call against Boston while on the power play. So back it'll come near Moog. Bruins have been hot. They've won 10 of their last 13. The Flyers have won 11 of their last 16 games. If the Flyers win, they will be 1 point behind the New York Rangers for first. If Boston wins the game, they will pull to within 2 of second-place Montreal, the Canadiens' idol tonight.
You know, a guy like Neely and a guy like Tocchet, they make your teams good road teams. And we are talking about 2 of the top 3 road teams in the last 10 years in the National Hockey League. The Flyers have had winning seasons 7 of the last 10 years. They've been number 1 on the road as far as winning seasons over the last 10 years. And Boston and Edmonton have had winning seasons in 6 of the last 10 years. So strong. And you take leadership like Neely and Tocchet and convert it into road wins.
Bork passes over to Brickley. Hatchets one off the glass. Tockett tries to clear. They try to keep it alive, and Hoggood able to do that. Over to Neely, then back to Bork. Bork takes a look and hands to Neely. Across it comes to Hoggood. Shoots one. Deflected on goal. Rebound sent wide. As Burridge got a piece of that and floated it wide of the net.
Flyers got a problem. Tockett's lost his stick. It's broken.
Score! The Bruins connect on the power play. Good point, Bill, because I think they may have been in the midst of trying to recover from that at the time that the Bruins let the big shot go.
Well, the shot came from that side of the ice, didn't it? And Rick Tocchet really was, you're forced into a passive situation when you don't have a stick. You can't play aggressively at all. And as soon as it came over to Ray Bork, there's Tocchet. But he couldn't really force Bork right away. He had no stick to reach out there to try and get a piece of the shot. So the Bruins moved the play to the right area, didn't they? Move it to the corner of the box where the guy is without the stick. Bork has a lot of time. Bingo, he let it go. I didn't even see if that hit anything. That was a rocket.
It came from Hoggood, but it may have been tipped. We'll see.
Well, it was Hoggood's shot. I thought it was Bork. He's got a great shot, too. Hoggood is a defenseman that's being used as a center, but that time he was back on the point of the power play. It was a rocket one way or the other.
Burridge gets credit for the goal on the tip. Hoggood fired it, gets the primary assist, and the secondary one went to Bork, as moving in that time was Carpenter for a combination. Now it's Sinisalo, taken down from behind by Peterson, and there'll be a power play coming up to the Flyers. 8:22 to go in the second period. The Bruins have just tied it. Our game is even at 1.
Alan Peterson, number 41 of the Bruins, is off for a hole. Bottom right of your screen, Sinisalo trying to move out. Peterson grabs him.
Flyers on the power play. This is their 4th one of the game. Bruins are 1 for their 4 tonight. The Flyers have come up empty in the prior 3. Striding with this is Mike Bullard. Drops it on back for Huffman. So they dump and they chase. Around it comes to Bullard, but just past him to Carter, who couldn't clear. Howe pestered by Carter. Nice block by Carter, and Howe recovers but has to get it back to center ice as his pass went along for Huffman. And Bork will be very deliberate about this. No hurry. Craven now finally smokes him out, and so he'll just do a spin and go right back behind.
He's so hard to chase behind the net, isn't he? Murray Craven's got good speed, but Bork just kind of suckered him in, and as soon as he got behind the net, boom, one stride to the left and then one stride straight out front, and he was lost.
45 seconds gone on the power play. Moog will clear this one back along, trying to keep it alive with Huffman. It is Burridge chipping at it, and Burridge able to get it back to near the red line before Mark Howe can control. Now it is Huffman, right back across to Howe again. This one, though, directed right back in, and the Bruins can take over once more. Bork drills it back down, and the Bruins, just with a textbook picket of penalty killing here, 7 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the second, and the game tied at 1. 40 seconds to go on the man advantage to the Flyers. Ahead with this is Mark Howe. Howe sends one off the board, stopped behind by Moog, dealt along by Don Sweeney, but kept alive by Tocchet. Tocchet dumps to a point that's vacated because the Flyers were in the midst of changing. Terry Cartner takes over, bounces one along for Sinisalo, flips it through to Tocchet, shoots, and he went just wide of the long side. Cartner tipped, and the Bruins follow up, and on with it is Burridge, one-on-one against Murphy. Burridge couldn't control. Cartner starts back up, went down on the lean of Burridge, and ahead with this now is Brickley, has Burridge breaking, cranks one, and it went just wide. Pinching to keep play alive is Galley, but it's Cartner up with this one, and all this time, penalty time has gone off the clock, and the Bruins have killed off 4 out of 4. Murphy ahead, sailed one off the glass. It hopped back over to Tocchet, tries to get to the front, denied by Lintzman. And it's Neely bringing it out in the 2-on-2. Picks up a man, that's Lintzman. It's a 3-on-2. Nice pass to Lintzman across for Joyce, and it was blocked off by Murphy. Good conception by the Bruins, and Murphy came up big for the Flyers. Back ahead is Smith. That one tipped away. Moog sets it up behind, and it's rolled along the board, but back near Kerry Huffman. Thrown by Lintzman back out, and the Flyers will regroup as Doug Sullivan is there. Smith had just been set down by a check from Neely. Shot went wide, but it is poked along, though missed on, by Huffman. Mark Howe back to play it. Turns it along for Huffman, but instead it's Lintzman. These two teams battling it out here with 5:25 to go in the second period of a 1-1 tie. We get an icing call that will bring the face-off back near Moog, and coming up for all of you and all of us, a commercial. one of the 17,423. Slightly embarrassed by the presence of our cameras. Oblivious to all of that fun, Keith Acton steps in for the face-off with Bob Carpenter. 5:22 left in the second. Dave Poulin scored. Randy Burridge scored. Both of those goals coming in this period, and we have a 1-1 deadlock. And this is the customary type of score for these two teams lately. For the Bruins almost all season long, and for the Flyers in particular since the latter part of October. Centering pass, and that tipped away. Dealt right back out again, and Jeff Chikrin will play it across to Kartner. Terry Kartner lofts, and Alan Peterson knocks it down. This one gloved loose by Berube, but his shot smothered out by Galley. Then a shot right in on goal, and hanging on is Andy Moog, and there's a lot of rushing and shoving at the net. Everybody moves in, including the two Flyers point men.
What started it was a chop by Keith Acton, and a lot went on right after that. Try and have a replay for you when we come back. Yeah, try and let it go to the chop if we can. Okay, here's a reverse angle look at the action in front. The shot didn't get through the first time from Berube. The second one did, and then Keith Acton right there with that poke really drew a real hard push and a punch from Alan Peterson, number 41.
Acton did what he had to do, and Peterson did as well. There was some sparring away from this play involving Sutter and Galley just a moment ago. Ahead with this now comes Carpenter. Spins and lays it across. Waiting for this one is Sweeney. Shoots one directed right in on goal, and a save made by Reggett. And doing the good job of directing was Lyndon Byers. 22 shots, 21 saves for Ken Reggett.
Well, I didn't think this play was going to get off the ground. It looked like the puck was going to be outside the blue line, but Sweeney got it and drilled it into a Lyndon Byers who was crossing in front. Those are the toughest guys to try and guard against, the guys that are on the move that end up making the deflection. There's just no way to cover them. This is some of the action that went on after that face-off between Galley and Ron Sutter.
Teams at even strength in this one-all tie. 22 shots for the Bruins, 10 shots for the Flyers, and cruising in for this face-off will be Carpenter, along with Ron Sutter of the Flyers. Puck comes to Carter. Pivots and is matched stride for the moment by Murphy. Now Carter let a shot go, and Murphy got his stick down to deflect it into the seats. Boy, there's a typical tough, grizzled sort of Boston Bruin. Guy that goes to the boards hard and plays that traditional sort of Bruin style, Lyndon Byers. In for the face-off, Carpenter and Sutter wins this one, getting it back to Murphy. Clock ticking down now to 4:20 to go in the second period. Game tied at 1. Carter kept that one along, but it is flipped further by Murphy. Tocchet tried to steer it out, got it on to Sutter. Across for Craven, able to control Murray. Craven with a shot, and that one sticked aside by Moog. Now it is Bork, ran into checking trouble from Tocchet. Thrown along by Craven. Ron Sutter up with it, couldn't get it to Craven. It hit the back of the goal. Sutter locked up there by Sweeney. Trying to shake it, loses Craven. Wrapped up by Carter, and the puck to Tocchet. Cruises to the slot. Shot, save made by Moog. And it is picked up by Lyndon Byers. The two teams are getting their big chances, but not too many of them. And the goaltenders come to the occasion whenever they do. Icing called, 3:40 left in the second, and we're still tied 1-1.
You know, Rick Tocchet seems to have a whole series of hesitation moves. He has walked to the front of the net with so much authority this season. Here he is right here. Now, it looked like he was going to backhand pass right there, and that freezes somebody. That throws John Sweeney, number 32 of the Bruins. It looked like he was going to pass to Craven, so he gives you all kinds of different looks. He just doesn't skate from point A to point B without doing a couple of things along the way, and that kind of freezes the people that are looking at him and are trying to move with him. And by the time he gets out in the slot, he usually has time to turn it around and take a pretty good shot, but he's done that so effectively all season long.
You saw him resting at the bench. Flyers bring out Tocchet to work with Bullard on the right, and on the left it is Craig Berube. Another false start on the puck drop. Hoffman and Howe the defense. Wesley working on defense for the Bruins. Joyce and Neely the wingers for Ken Lintzman. And the other defenseman is Weimer, as this one hopped right into the glove of Moog. Dealt off for a pass out to Joyce, then on for Lintzman, but this one blocked off by Huffman and thrown back along by Bullard. Mark Howe has to retreat to play for the Flyers. Goes circle to circle across for Huffman. Tossed back out, but Wesley plays. Then across to Weimer, then off for Neely, but all the way down. Reggett comes out to tap so that it can be played by Howe. Skipped off of Lintzman, sent ahead by Bullard, and brought on for a pass by Acton across to Berube. Poke checked off his stick, though, by Weimer. He followed up, but Neely got in the way of that one and handed on to Joyce. Joyce's pass directed right back toward the Flyers, and it is Bullard to chop back in deep. Under 3 minutes to play in the second period of this one. Close to the best kind of game. 1-1 the score. The Bruins and the Flyers here from the Spectrum. Along with Ken Adelberger downstairs, Bill Clement alongside, Mike Emmerich with this one for you. We hope you're enjoying it. A full house watching, as is the custom here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Acton trying to step away, but a good check that time by Joyce freed it up so that he could drop it in and get a shift change. Andy Brickley's wide out for the Bruins as you watch the Flyers play it ahead. Peterson steered that one past Burridge. Chopped along by Jeff Chikrin, and out of play it went, I think, into the glove of Pete Peters. Well, there is Jeff Chikrin, second-year man, part of the Hershey Bears squad that won the championship in 1988, had a good, solid first full season with the Flyers last year, and was the Iron Man of the team.
And you know what was a help to Jeff Chikrin last year was Gord Murphy. They had everything in common. Both rookie defensemen in the National Hockey League on the same team, so they were able to share a lot of their thoughts, a lot of the pressures that they had on one another, and just having company. What's that grocery list? Exactly. But just having company in the same situation is a big help to a rookie.
This comes across, and Galley drops it back in deep. Jeff Chikrin to get it. Dumped one along that Burridge came in close to get. Hammer to the boards and glass that time by Derek Smith as the sparring continues, and Bobby Gould stood up at the checking of Chikrin. To a side continue, and Gould feistily trying to get it loose there. Has some help from Burridge. Randy Burridge pivoting. Smith ran into Gould's check. Puck worked to the outside, and the Bruins keep it alive, but it is thrown for the corner, and Chikrin goes to get it. Off of Peterson, poked along by Poulin and sent by Smith ahead for Kartner. Terry Kartner cruising, flips one in front, and Poulin tried to spin and direct. It went wide, and it's trapped now by Moog. You were telling me that you saw Jeff Chikrin's grocery list at one time last year. I think that's one thing he misses by Gord Murphy's being married now. They can't shop together.
That's all right. He just Xeroxed the same list from last year and keeps buying the same stuff. You know, the Flyers knew the Bruins' defense would be up on the play quite a bit, especially Ray Bork. But on this particular play, Terry Kartner really made a heads-up move, jumping into the play on the neutral zone. There he is. Kartner has brought that dimension to the Flyers. He was out for a good part of the start of this season with his knee, but Terry Kartner, when he has a chance, I think really has a good sense of when to hit an offensive hole, when to get up there and join the rush.
Murphy a shot, and that has injured Lyndon Byers. Byers is very slow to get up and is hobbling around. Flyers able to keep play alive by dumping it in, and the Bruins may just decide to close here. No, I thought they might steer it into Moog for a wait for a Flyer to get nearby and get a stoppage. Now Lyndon Byers has been able to throw this one back in, and he's going to stay out there. Meanwhile, the puck rolled off by Carter, then to Byers, tried a finesse move. Oh, he nearly had a man in front, Carpenter. Then along, burrowing in for it is Carter. Steps it along for Carpenter, sealed up by Murphy. Carter tries again, and Ron Sutter right on him. Puck squirts loose, and we get a stoppage of play on a hand pass by Boston, and a neutralized faceoff will result. This has been a hard-played game, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Did you notice how Lyndon Byers kind of shook it off when he got into the offensive zone? those things hurt a lot worse in the defensive zone. As soon as you penetrate the offensive zone, as I'm healed, let's get one. Come on, guys. Gordon Murphy can tee it up with the best of them, and we'll take a look at it right here. He got that one just above the knee, the cap on the knee pad, right between his pants and the shin pad. But it's amazing the number of guys that you think have just had their legs cut off that end up at the blue line. It's not just Lyndon Byers, it's everybody. Boy, you see that chance to score, and you say, oh, maybe I can just hobble in here a little closer.
St. Louis and Buffalo, 3-3 in the third period. That game of interest to the Bruins. Buffalo leading the Adams division ahead of the Bruins by 6 points. Edmonton 2, Toronto 1 in the first. Detroit beat Chicago 4-3, and later, Minnesota at Vancouver.
How about St. Louis? They walked into Boston last night. They defeated the Bruins 2-1, and now 3-3 against the Buffalo Sabres, who have not lost yet at home, believe it or not.
Well, the Bruins, or rather the Blues, have been historically a dreadful road team, but they are 7-4-2 this year on the road. That is tremendous. Puck along is kicked further by Bork, but sent in deep by Acton. Wesley reached to the boards and glass that time by Berube. Wesley trying to hold. Two players from both teams trying to battle it along the boards. That's Mike Bullard in. And it's pinned to the boards for another halt with 36 seconds to go in the second period. The game changed much from the first period to the second. In your eyes, I seem to notice a lot more hitting this period than I did in the first.
The Flyers are dumping the puck into the Bruins zone a lot more. And we talked about that's how you establish part of your hitting game. So, yeah, I think there's more hitting in this period because there's been a lot more dumping, chasing, and establishing in that forechecking game. But it's heated up.
Acton and Linzman for the face-off. Flyers with 10 shots in this period. The Bruins have 9. Terry Kartner controlling. Wrists one wide. And Moog sees it come right out in front. And it was poked aside by Acton, who couldn't follow through much because of Wesley being there. Now it is Chychrun tapping one along. So a close call there at the Bruins net. Linzman moving in. And it is Chychrun. And Linzman continued the battle, and Neely pulls away. He had Joyce in front, dealt it right in on Reggett, who was able to stop and hold. So with 9 seconds to go, Reggett will see at least one more face-off this period.
You know, I'm sure I sound like an old school, kind of a dump and chase kind of guy all the time. That's not what I want to see all the time. Here's a chance at the other end that bounced back out to Andy Moog, but to me, you've got to mix up your offense. Your skilled guys have to be able to carry the puck and have to be given license to carry the puck through the neutral zone and try and attack. I mean, if you force them to dump all the time, you take away their game. Also, if you've got a head of steam on and you've got a numerical advantage, a 3-on-2, or even a late defenseman coming to make a 4-on-3, then you've got to carry. It's an individual read, but when you're playing against a strong defensive team, there are a lot of guys that have to think, boy, I'd be a lot better off dumping and chasing than carrying. I think there's place for both. You just have to have the right mix against strong defensive teams.
Well, and the Flyers will have to be doing that Tuesday against Washington and Thursday night here against the Buffalo Sabres. Ahead with this is Howe. 4 seconds to go. The last shot of the period is in on Moog, and the horn sounds to end period 2 of our game. Couple of goals that period for the Flyers. Dave Poulin, his fourth from Murphy at 3:15. Bork hands it right back across. They are using Bobby Gould along with Andy Brickley up front and Burridge. This one drilled back in by Sweeney, and along the boards tied up by Craven and by Burridge, and again we get a halt to play. 17 seconds into this third period, we stop. Detroit beat Chicago 4-3 today. St. Louis and Buffalo 3-3 in the third. Edmonton with a chance to take over first place in the Smythe tonight if they beat Toronto, leading the Maple Leafs 2-1 in the first, and later Minnesota at Vancouver.
Boy, didn't it look like the Calgary Flames were going to walk away with that division for a while, but everybody is right behind. As you look at a guy that I really think is one of the underrated wingers in the game, Randy Burridge is only 180, 183 pounds, in that range. But he's well built. He's stocky. He's only about 5'9", and he plays a lot bigger. When he hits you like a Cam Neely or a Rick Tocchet.
Reminds you in a way of a Butch Goring, the type of player that he is. This one is fed all the way back down until Bork will go back, and they rule icing off on it. Bork takes over for the Bruins. Run to the boards and glass by Sutter. Puck comes right up to Gould, who drops it back out, and Howe takes over. Well, Bork played 12 minutes in the second period. added to the 11 minutes and 59 seconds that he had in the first. He's just a hair, but of course he's past that now, under 24 minutes out of 40. Incredible. Pocket there. Throws one wide, and Sutter goes in after it, locks up with Burridge. Murray Craven couldn't get very far with that one. Huffman kicks it along. Still it is dealt back further, and Jay Wells comes by to just scoop it high and back in. The Flyers must clear the zone and decide at this point to make a player change. Poulin comes out, so does Ilka Sinisato and Derek Smith. That's the front line as the Bruins attack with theirs, and now they make a change. It is Jay Wells patrolling for the Flyers' defense. Slides one across that went into the glove of Murphy. Stolen, though, by Burridge, and Wells recovered very well to get back. Now it is Peterson drilling one that ricocheted across to Murphy. Gord Murphy turns it along to Smith. A game which has not seen a lot of exciting plays near the net. A lot of collisions, though. This pass offside to Ilka Sinisato. And so back it'll come out to neutral ice. Ilka Sinisato has been quite a leader, and there are a couple of guys who are leaders in the nut category.
Those are great. For all of the people that hate those little yellow things that hang in every car in North America, there's a new twist. Hockey nut on board. Hockey nut somewhere loose inside that head.
The next thing we'll see is a miniature Garfield doll on somebody's glasses lens. Keith Acton will take this draw opposite Ken Lintzman. A minute 40 gone, third period of play. It is 1-1, the Flyers and the Boston Bruins. Galley with a shot that was tipped by Kartner and fielded by Chikrin. Jeff Chikrin plays this one. The two teams are shotless through the first nearly 2 minutes of this third period. Mike Bullard with a drive that went off the glass. Moog there to 10, behind now to Peterson. Shakes one off the board. It is Neely trying to turn with it, but can't. Acton battling along with Neely. Puck came back to Kartner, flipped one that's gloved down by Berube, laid on by Kartner. Bullard there, shoved for the boards, and Galley up with it. Gary Galley forced one along that goes all the way back. Kartner will stride back and Neely on him, so Reggett has to come out and make a play. Ken Reggett deals it on his backhand right up the board into some traffic. Mike Bullard floated it behind, but it's taken by Lintzman. Centers, quick shot on goal by Joyce, handled by Reggett, and a halt to play.
Boy, the Bruins take away the board so well on that backhand. He described Ken Reggett was able to squeeze it between the Bruin and the boards, but if he had decided to go a long way around, behind the net and around, Cam Neely didn't even try to support the forecheck. He just came over to the low side and took away the boards in case Reggett was going to go the other way. Here it is from a reverse angle. Now this is the shot after the fact, after the Bruins had jumped in. Once the Bruins get it across the line with a lot of skating room, they sure can maintain a lot of pressure. And the Flyers do that well also. They're really well coached, both of these hockey teams. They take away the boards. They understand the difference between a strong side and a weak side.
And they keep it simple, too. Sometimes you can be too complex. This isn't a sport where you have all week to prepare for a game. Carter with a drive, and Reggett snaps it right up and waits for the faceoff. 17:24 to go in the third, still 1-1. Returning to play, it's Jim Weimer going back to get it for the Bruins. 17 minutes left in the third if you're just joining us. The scoring in this game occurred in the second period. Dave Poulin early, Randy Burridge midway. We have a 1-1 tie. Penalties have been minor tonight, 6 minors to each team. Up the wing now it is Smith. Able to pull away from Burridge, but right over to get him that time was Weimer, and it's dealt along to Lyndon Byers. Ahead with this is Brickley. Tripped up on the play by Wells. Following up is Burridge. Burridge with Brickley and a shot. Kicked away by Reggett. Handled now by Murphy. And Murphy drops one along that's brought back further by Sinisalo. Ilka Sinisalo just flies one back in. It is Bork connecting back on the defense with Sweeney. Burridge stood up by Murphy's checking. And then it is loose now for Craven. Tries once, doesn't get a second chance, is moving in as Neely. Big drive, oh, and a hard one went just wide. Don Sweeney controlling for the Bruins, right back over to Bork. Drives one around off the paddle of Reggett. Murphy there, chops it along to Tocchet. Flips it ahead to Sutter. Steers it back out to Craven. Murray Craven in a 3-on-2 with Tocchet, and they're offside going in. After experiencing the free flow of the games with Pittsburgh, this is quite a contrast.
Well, the Flyers coming into tonight's game 10 points ahead of the same time last year, and that is in spite of the real slow start that Paul Holmgren's guys had this year. And when you talk about the Boston Bruins, you're talking about excellence. 22 consecutive winning seasons as of last year, the longest in pro sports. So that's what Paul Holmgren is up against here. Bruins organization built on a winning tradition, very similar to the Flyers organization.
Pat DiPuzzo to drop it between Acton and Lintzman. And the puck pops over to Karkner. Karkner fires one that went off the heel of the skate of Peterson, chopped further and taken by Galley. Galley, the Bruins defenseman, hooks one back off for Lintzman to fly ahead with. Ken Lintzman moves in, peels off, and flips one that goes wide. Pinching along, trying to jab it free, and doing it is Galley. Now it is taken by Karkner, dumped the other side for Mike Bullard. Bullard forced right off. Good aggressive checking by Peterson. Bullard able to pull away now and started back up the wing with a pass on to Karkner. Karkner drops one, and this one slowed by Moog. Tries to poke it away and gets it away from Acton. Now it's Bullard taking over. Rolls it behind, but Moog steps right out again. Bullard taken to the boards, and moving up with it now is Joyce. Drops it back for the carry ahead by Galley. Worked on the wing to Semeta. Offside was Galley. Clock stopped with 14:56 to go in the third, still tied. Horacek and Sullivan are out now for the Flyers with Rick Tocchet on the wing as Bork flew one back into the zone that is poked away by Reggett and dealt along the boards to Tocchet. Then for Horacek, followed up by Tocchet, cut off by Byers and laid back to Bork. So the Bruins shift from defense to offense and then defense again as the Flyers send one along, and we get an offside call on that pass. How'd your mall appearance go, by the way? You and 5 of the thugs from the mid-70s.
Well, Paul Holmgren wasn't there, and he was a thug. No, we had a great time at Franklin Mills Mall yesterday, and there were a couple of young girls that were there in their Flyers jerseys that were there from beginning to end, and they said that they would be watching tonight. And girls, here's your plug. You better be watching.
Who else was out there with you?
Dave Schultz,
right?
Don Selesky, Orsk Kinderchuk, Bill Barber, Bernie Perrant. Now, they were the thugs. Okay?
Yeah, Bernie, right. Well, he watched a lot of it, right?
He did.
Sutter in on this face-off along with Carpenter. Puck turned to the back. Galley hurries it over to Bork. Big drive and a save made by Ken Reggett on that one. You saw the best of both. Big drive by Bork and lightning-like reflexes from Ken Reggett.
Ken Reggett's confidence right now is at an all-time high on this reverse angle. Look at this blast. He's got his angle pretty well cut down, but, you know, I didn't realize Ken Reggett had such a good glove hand until about 4 or 5 games ago. Maybe he hadn't been tested that often in a Flyers uniform to the glove side, but, boy, he has shown me a lot of quickness, and he has been able to hang on to a lot of them. I even remarked a few games ago that it's tough with the new style of catching glove, with it's so big and has so much protection, it's tough to hang on to them. Well, Reggett's done a great job of hanging on to them in the last 5 games.
That he has. Howe locks up here with Gould. Ron Sutter trying to poke it free. Along it comes to Craven, dumps it back out, and the battles for yardage are almost like in football. They do not come quickly in this game. They come with a lot of grinding. Burridge works it back ahead for Brickley, then on the boards to Gould. Checked there by Kerry Huffman, and Huffman trying to ride him along as Gould wants to get loose. They work it to Brickley. Rising shot to the seats. And it went off Craven, and so the faceoff will remain near Reggett. Here's Murphy. This one along now for Dave Poulin. Tried it ahead, but it is Derek Smith trying to shake free. Watching him is Wesley. And Wesley checked Smith to the boards as Bork came up with it and shoveled on to Bob Gould. Gould, the one-time Washington Capital, maneuvers this one ahead, heads for the Murphy side of the ice and tries to get by and does. Here's Gould moving back behind. Locked up with Jay Wells. Puck shoveled along and Brickley steps to it. Punched it to the back. Peterson a shot. That one ricocheted off a couple of players, and it's poked to the corner by Murphy. 13 and a half minutes to go in the third period of this 1-1 close to the vest deadlock. Along it comes now for a pass across from Murphy to Wells. Jay Wells turns it back up to Sinisalo. Floats it across to Poulin. Moves in with Murphy. The drop is to Murphy. Shovels one that went off Peterson. Sent along by Poulin to the back to Murphy. Another shot deflected and right in on Moog, who got his pad on it. And trying to seal it up is Bork. It squirts loose and is brought back up ice by Neely. Turned back ahead now for Burridge. What a save that time by Moog as the Flyers saw one drilled that changed directions a couple of times. And Moog got his pad on it. Berube hit by Joyce. Moving ahead is Keith Acton. Gives to Berube. Stopped the shot and it is turned aside by Moog. Moving with this one is Sweeney. Starts it back up now to Gary Galley, who wants to slow it down a little bit. Pass seemed to go across two lines, but play continues now as Chikrin feeds back on to Mike Bullard. Bullard dumps it around the boards. Moog able to stop it for Don Sweeney. Right back to get him is Berube, but Sweeney pulls away. Lost it to Keith Acton, and the battle continues behind. Sweeney will turn to play it now for the Bruins. 12:15 to go, and the clock continues to run as Chikrin lifts one back in. Delayed offside is White as the Flyers clear the zone, and the Bruins take it right out with control. Coming to Ken Lynchman. Moved in, but ahead of him was Joyce, and so play once more is stopped.
From behind Andy Moog, the great save that he made on Gord Murphy, it was an absolute screen shot that got deflected right down near his right pad, and then Ray Bork tried to cover up. This ended up not being whistled down. Craig Berube ended up hammering his knuckles enough to force the puck loose.
Weimer. Is everybody all right back there? Boy, it looks like one fan may have gotten gonged on that one, but seems to be all right.
Well, our statistician Jamie McVicker has handed me an interesting piece of information. Over the last 9 Flyers games, including tonight, in 530 minutes of play, the Flyers have trailed in only 2 games, in Washington for 12 minutes and 35 seconds and in Hartford for 26 minutes. You can tell there hasn't been much scoring in the game tonight. Jamie's got a lot of spare time. That's good stuff, Jamie. Keep it up. And that's been one of the keys. You know, we talked about the turnaround for the Flyers, but they didn't have to play from behind all the time.
And that was a part of their October that we haven't seen lately. Here is Weimer scooping one to the glass. Dealt along now for Semeta. Tried to pop one further for the breaking Lyndon Byers. This one followed up by Carpenter, but Byers had been taken into the zone by Mark Allen protest, but it'll be a neutral ice face-off to come out of this. Yeah, you go through a few bottles of water in the course of a game like this. Seems very cool in the arena tonight. It is miserably cold outside, but with all that equipment, 35 pounds of it, Andy Moog has worked up quite a sweat.
Mike Milbury made a big commitment to try and generate offense for this team this season. Right now the Bruins are 11th overall in offense, but last year they were 14th. Cam Neely coming into tonight's game, leading the team with 19 goals. Bob Sweeney is out of the lineup. He has 11, and then it drops off drastically after that, so they still have some offense to gain. But they had a couple of key players injured for most of this season, so they're getting good mileage out of the guys they have.
Here is Bork moving along and dealing it in deep. He is not slowed at all, despite playing all the time that he has, probably about 30 minutes by now, plus having a game last night. What a shot on goal. Save made by Reggett. Rebound pops up in the air. Dealt off now by Burridge, but poke checked away from him by Poulin. Sent back around, and Bork tries to check it away from Sinisalo, who prevails. So he gave it up to Bob Gould, just shakes it on back to Sweeney. 10:55 to go, third period. 1-1 the score. Sinisalo steps to this one. Lays it on back to Jay Wells. Wells advances it toward Derek Smith, but he was coming off on the shift change. And back come the Bruins now with Andy Brickley. Giving to Burridge. Moving in. Burridge with a shot, and it went wide. Moving in with this is Galley. Leaned on by Acton, and the puck came over to Murphy. Starts it back out with a pass to Craig Berube. It's Berube steaming one to the corner. Back to play it is Neely. Ridden to the boards and glass by Mike Bullard. Bullard and Galley tie up, and Neely comes in as well.
You want to know how to wear the opposition down? The in deep, the chase, and in this, the crunch. Right there, big hit by Mike Bullard on Cam Neely.
The gap from third to first in the Adams is now 8. Buffalo has defeated St. Louis 4-3. Detroit over Chicago this afternoon 4-3. Edmonton 3, Toronto 1 in the second. Nothing from Vancouver yet, where Minnesota plays. That one will be much later on. This one drubbed back along the boards by Chikrin. Berube battles with Peterson. Stepping away with it is Mike Bullard. Gives it on the outside to Keith Acton. Acton swirling around behind. Wants to find Bullard. Now moves out in front. Acton with a shot. Knocked down by Moog. And he's able to hang on. Everything just froze for a moment. But Andy Moog got it.
One of the reasons everything froze was that he got great interference, Acton did, from Bullard and Berube. Now there's the give and go, or the takeaway by Acton. But Berube in front right there was holding Peterson. That gave Acton some time. And now watch the crowd at the side of the net when Keith Acton comes out. Bullard's holding two guys in, including Ken Linsman. Craig Berube drew Peterson away, and it all opened up, but he had some help. Good head of steam by Keith Acton coming around, but he made a smart play by stopping because you could see the defenseman was going to cut him off. Galley was coming out. So he went back and used the screen on the other side, but just couldn't get it by Andy Moog.
Boy, Galley sure got from one side of the net to the other quickly, didn't he?
He did the first time, but when Acton stopped, you saw that he ran into that crowd trying to go back. So you got to read where the traffic is and use it at times.
Ahead come the Bruins, and a shot by Carter is knocked down by Reggett, and the net has become dislodged, and play once more is stopped.
Well, these shot totals aren't going to hurt Ken Reggett's save percentage any. He is leading the National Hockey League with a save percentage of .915. And in 29 shots tonight, the Bruins only have one by them. Here's the last shot, a reverse angle look at it, right to the pad.
Both goals tonight, deflections. Dave Poulin from Murphy and Randy Burridge from Hawgood. Both in the second period. Ron Sutter wades in for this face-off with Bobby Carpenter. And Howe steps over to get it. The clock has gone down now to 9 minutes and 40 seconds in regulation time. Howe laying it back across to Huffman. Huffman leaned on by Carter, and in now comes Carpenter. Feeds one in front to Myers, and the shot went wide. Dealt right back along to Murray Craven. Poke checked away by Carter, followed up by Bork, and this one knocked down by Sutter. Sutter goes down, and Bork will be penalized on this one.
What great pursuit by Ron Sutter. He ended up blocking the pass from Ray Bork, who was just trying to clear it off the boards. And then Bork took a little piece of him. Ron Sutter exaggerated it, made it look real good. Good enough for Dennis Merrill to call. But this is a key penalty right here, because not only does it give the Flyers a power play, and there you can see Ron kind of going into the swan dive that really drew the penalty. But not only is it a power play, but the key guy on the ice for the Boston Bruins at any time of the hockey game is now going to be out of the play for 2 minutes, and the Bruins are going to have to kill this one without Ray Bork.
Checking to see who Mike Milbury will send out there. He has Peterson as well as Gary Galley. Burridge and Carpenter will be up front.
Boy, just before this play, the Bruins came this close to making it a 2-1 hockey game. A perfect feed to Lyndon Byers.
Did that hit the tip of the glove?
Gosh, I don't know. I didn't see it. I know one thing. It's hard to one-time a pass that's coming across your body. If Lyndon Byers had been a left-hand shot, he would have had an easier time with it, because when you try to one-time it, very often it slips off the end of your stick, and you don't get quite as much accuracy, and I think that's part of the reason that Byers been buried in the middle of the net.
Galley forced off. A 1-1 tie here with 9:15 to go in the third. Flyers swinging on their fifth power play. Tocchet off now to Bullard. Through the legs, trying for Tocchet, but it's punched away by Peterson and brought back up by Burridge for the drop down. Ken Reagan out of his net to get it. Penalty time now down to a minute and 32 seconds as it's brought back up by Craven. Worked on the wing for Bullard. Tried to step by Peterson and did. Bullard moving around in front, couldn't center it, and it is cut off now by Burridge and thrown back down. So Mike Bullard with quite a rush there. Wanted to flip one out in front, but couldn't. Murray Craven forced off for the checking of Burridge. It's Terry Kartner bringing it on. Kartner, good skating defenseman for the Flyers, lost it to Gould. Bobby Gould moving in. Hammers one right into Reagan, and Reagan had it up in his pad, lifted it right into his glove and wanted to keep it in play, but the whistle had blown. A minute 3 to go on the power play, and 8:23 left in this third period of a 1-all tie.
You know, when you're carrying the puck, you want to penetrate the zone so badly, but Terry Kartner skated right into a 1-on-3 situation there, and here's what happened. Bobby Gould had a head of steam. Murray Craven was a little tired, so he wasn't able to cut him off. Ken Reagan, how far out of the net was he? He was 4 feet inside the face-off circle.
An old goaltender, I use this as OL apostrophe, Marcel Pelche, who will turn 62 on Wednesday of this week, was saying this morning that of all the goaltenders he has seen in the league, Ken Reagan is on as good a game as anybody has been in recent years.
I agree 100%. He is hot. And the Flyers here have called a timeout. 8:23 to go in the third. The game is tied at 1.
Andy Moog has been splendid lately. He is unbeaten in his last 8 games. So 2 hot goaltenders have held the score low tonight, but the defenses and the forwards coming back have made a difference too.
You know, I was looking down trying to figure out what the timeout was all about, because Andy Murray, Mike Eves, Paul Holmgren, they're all down there, but nobody was talking to anybody. I'm guessing that in a 1-1 hockey game with 8:23 to go, Paul Holmgren wants his number 1 power play unit to be out there for the entire duration of the power play. But then I look out and see that Mark Howe isn't out there. Terry Kartner and Gord Murphy are, but one way or the other, these guys are now rested and ready to finish off the power play.
Craven, Tocchet, and Mike Bullard up front. This one thrown by Tocchet and down. If the Bruins get there first, it may be icing. They do, and it is. And so with 50 seconds to go, still on the power play, the faceoff will come back near Reagan. 8:10 left in the third, and the Bruins are going to make a change in personnel too. Emotional guy you mentioned, Mike Milbury, actually went after an organist in the American League with Maine up in Sherbrooke. Organist was playing a tune that he thought was making fun of the nationality of one of his players, and had complained about it in the prior game, and when it happened again, he took matters into his own hands.
They went after her.
Him.
Oh, okay.
And Jack Butterfield took matters into his own hands and decided that a fine was necessary. Ahead with this now comes Bullard. Butterfield, the president of that American Hockey League. Mike Bullard turning now, giving it to the back to Murphy. Dove to try and hold it, and then Kartner flipped a backhander that's knocked down. A good keep by Gord Murphy, but the Bruins eventually able to clear here with 23 seconds to go on the Flyer power play. 7:40 left in the third, 1-1 tie. It's Bullard trying to step through the defense. Can't. Follow-up shot by Craven. It's kicked away by Moog. Craven to the back now to Kartner. Then back over to Murray Craven once more. Just deliberately looks from the outside, shovels one in front. That blocked away by Peterson as Murphy was breaking. And the Bruins bring it back as penalty time now expires to Bork. Moving in with it is Gould. He scores! Bobby Gould on a 2-on-1, and the Bruins have broken the tie.
Well, Bobby Gould sure played this one right. Remember the 2-on-1 situation that came across Lyndon Byers' body that he tried to one time and he ended up missing? Well, Bobby Gould not only stopped this, he took his time and he looked and he found that he had more time than he needed. The Flyers got caught in deep. Gord Murphy had tried to pinch in for a cross-ice seam pass that just didn't happen. And away came the Bruins. Brickley to Bobby Gould. And you know what you may have noticed at the blue line was that Bobby Gould was holding Mike Bullard's stick while Bullard was trying to hold him back. That was something that the officials said they were going to start calling. Well, they didn't call it on that one, and Bob Gould was able to get ahead, and he made no mistake. Scored a huge goal. The Bruins lead 2-1 with 7:10 to go.
First goal of the year for Gould. Brickley, the lone assist at 12:43. So the Flyers, for the first time in the game, find themselves behind. Terry Huffman controlling for the Flyers defense, turns it back onto Howe, dumps it back off for Poulin, connects with Sinisalo. Yoka Sinisalo tried to throw it ahead for Derek Smith, but it was broken down on an offside call, and play is stopped. Keith Acton to take the draw with Ken Lintzman. 6:48 to go in the third, and the Boston Bruins lead in the game by a count of 2-1. Kartner and Chikrin the defense, Berube up front on the left wing, and Sinisalo on the right. Bruins control on the face-off, and the tireless Ray Bourque just plops one back so that Chikrin goes to get it. Ken Lintzman, the forechecker, has Neely on the right, and across on the left side, it is Joyce. Kartner wings one along that went off a skate and through the play offside, and so again a neutral ice face-off to result. Cam Neely without a goal or a point tonight. He is tied for the lead in first goals, second in power play goals. He is third overall in goals scored and second in winners. Not a terrible year, thus far. Gee, what a trooper out there. I mean, it's not just his numbers, but he plays it hard, too.
You know, he wasn't that happy last year under Terry O'Reilly. Terry O'Reilly wanted him to play a consistent bashing style absolutely all the time and wasn't that concerned with his goal scoring. And under Mike Milbury, he seems to be a real happy athlete, and it's showing in his totals.
Kartner across to Chikrin, and this one just whizzed by Bourque, who can play it behind. Bourque matched up with Sweeney on the defense. They have the Byers unit out now. Lyndon Byers on one wing, Carter on the other, and Carpenter the center. Moog stops it behind, and playing this now is Bourque. 6 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the third. The clock, the enemy of the Flyers right now, as the Bruins have the lead by 1, and they move back in again in a 2-on-1. Carter across to Byers, and again he shot it wide. Moving out with this is Carter. Byers again fanned on the shot as he was checked by Berube. So Lyndon Byers has had a 2-on-1 and a shot both times, but has not been able to connect. Byers starts right back ahead, but they rule a hand pass against the Bruins, and with 5:49 to go in the third, the Bruins still have that one-goal lead.
Things are opening up for the Bruins a little bit because the Flyers have to take a couple of chances heading up the other way, and when that happens, these guys in black and yellow are ready to pounce. That time Craig Berube just got enough of Lyndon Byers to throw him off his shot.
Looks as though Kartner might have had a reason for Byers to not get much on that initial shot and send it way wide, too. Puck thrown back in deep. Wesley is there to get it. Gave it up to Tocchet, though. Tried to spin one in front. Bouncing puck is guided away by the one-hand work that time of Weimer. Still the battle continues, and Wells tries to jab it loose. Thrown around the glass and flipped further by Moog. To get it, though, is Murphy. Drops it along to Rick Tocchet. Tocchet pivots, sends one across the goal mouth off of Wesley and wide. Bruins started back with 5:20 to go here in the third. It's thrown in deep by Bob Gould. Going back to get it is Wells. Jay Wells goes down. The puck winds up underneath, and so again, play is stopped. Edmonton leading Toronto 4-2 in the second. Buffalo has one, and so also has Detroit. Jay Wells went back, but it seemed to hit a rut in the ice, didn't he?
Sometimes if you decide at the last second to change your direction, you can just fall like that, and it may look like a rut is in the ice. You might have hit a rut. But if you're that close to the boards with that much speed and you make a split-second decision, sometimes it's hard for the feet to follow the head that quickly.
Well, Jay Wells sits, and replacing him on defense for the Flyers will be the duo of Howe and Huffman. Ken Lintzman Opposite Dave Poulin for the faceoff. Poulin, the lone goal scorer for the Flyers. Burridge and Gould have the goals for Boston. Clock ticks down now to 5 minutes and 10 seconds left in the third. Puck by Howe hit the back of the net, came along to Derek Smith trying to get room to play, but Lynchman able to take it away and just slither one in on Reggett. Dealt off to Huffman, and Huffman will wait now.
You won't see the Bruins send 2 men in now. They'll send 1 man in at most, and they'll just back off.
Sinisalo a shot, and a save there made by Moog. Joyce just glasses it back out, and Terry Huffman is there to play. Huffman along now to Sinisalo, backhands it in. Sweeney goes back to get it. Sweeney and Bork the defense, and Bork takes this pass and then put it off the back of the goal, so Sweeney had to react. Swirled one around that popped the Bruins' way on to Neely. Neely ahead now for Lynchman, up the wing to Bork. Bork dips the shoulder and pivots. Looks over traffic and throws it across the goal mouth wide. To the back it comes to Sweeney. Sends one around the boards, and Joyce there. Leaned on by Huffman. Coming by is Neely trying to take it. Joyce centered, and Lynchman a hurried shot that went wide as he was leaned on by Derek Smith. Back up come the Flyers right now at 3-on-2. Moving in is Mark Howe. Howe tried to flip one in front. That's sealed off by Galley. Starting back to Bruins. Whoa. What a hit on Sweeney by Dave Poulin. Under 4 minutes to play in the third period. Chychrun drills one wide. If you're just joining us, the Boston Bruins have the lead over the Philadelphia Flyers 2-1. A hit that time by Craig Berube. But up the wing comes Lyndon Byers. Moving in. Hit the post with the shot. Byers checks his leg for snake bite as this one is drilled back in again by Bobby Carpenter.
And I think there are fang marks there.
I think so. 3.5 to go in the third. Pass just went by Carter. Brought ahead by Karkner on to Acton. Backhander kicked right out by Moog. Then sent behind the net by the defense. Wrapped around now for Byers again. He's got a man up the wing but can't play. Locks up with Acton. Coming by is Karkner, and he's bumped to the boards. Bork able to punch one along that winds up under the fallen players, and so play is stopped with 3:08 left in the third. Still 2-1 Boston.
There's the snakebite man, Lyndon Byers, coming in on Ken Reggett. Reggett forced him wide, then got a piece of it, and then ding. Terry Karkner had some of that net sealed off, and before that, the big hit on Don Sweeney by Dave Poulin. You know, Sweeney had a head of steam. If he gets by Poulin on that play, he's got a lot of ice ahead of him.
Ron Sutter to take the face-off with Andy Brickley. Poulin, one of the guys in the league that may not be necessarily that big, under 6 feet, but he hits hard. Puck thrown around by Murphy. Ron Sutter turns it loose to Tocchet. Tocchet can't get to the front because of the defensive play there of Bork. Rolled back along for Sutter. Trying to step in his way was Wesley. Centering pass poked away again by Bork. Dug out though by Tocchet. Tocchet flipped one, came right in on goal, and swept away after the save by Moog from Bork's stick. Turned right back along, and Moog can't stop this one, so it came over to Tocchet. Flyers have the territorial possession right now, but need to get something better going toward the net. It is Murphy knocking it loose with 2.5 to go. This one taken by Burridge. Gave it up, though, to Gord Murphy. Starts it back the other way for the Flyers. A tap by Tocchet. He'll get to it. Tocchet a shot, and that just held by Andy Moog. And again, we'll have a halt to play with 2:21 to go in the third. Tempo has picked up a little bit, as you would expect, with one team trailing and needing to get one to force overtime.
Well, as this game wears on, the Flyers coaching staff are going to have to make sure that if they're still trailing with, say, a minute and a half to go, and that's only a minute from now, that everybody knows their own assignment because they don't have a timeout left to take. They took that a few minutes ago. Rick Tocchet just sent this one right through a couple of sets of legs. Andy Moog kicked at it to get it away. He could see Ron Sutter was coming there for the near rebound, so he kicked it out right past him. And that's exactly what we're talking about right there. That's Mike Eves down talking to Rick Tocchet. So they've got to make sure their X's and O's are all set to go for the final 2 minutes of this game.
Every face-off a big one at this point. Ken Lynchman in to wage the war with Keith Acton. They've gone at each other a lot tonight on these draws, and the Bruins prevail on this one. It's brought back up by Galley and handed to Neely for the drop back. Reggett moves out and just got away from Lynchman to turn it back along. Karkner is there, but it's squirted back to Lynchman. Slotted to Joyce. Joyce couldn't get by Chychrun. He knocked it down, and Acton picks it up. Rolls it ahead up the wing to Mike Bullard. Hits one for Sinisalo. Gets by. Fans on the shot as he was hawked enough from behind to affect the shot that he was taking, and so play is stopped. Puck sent out of play, and it'll be a face-off to occur near Moog.
There's a reverse angle look at it. It started deep in the Flyers zone, but Keith Acton moved it at just the right time. Mike Bullard with a little flip to Ilka Sinisalo. Boy, you talk about timing. Neely came back and waited to make contact with Sinisalo's stick until just when he was going to shoot. So we see that Cam Neely can play defensive hockey as well.
Well, Acton again and Ken Lintzman. Hoffman in back along with Gord Murphy. Sinisalo and Bullard are the wings. 1:56 to go in the third, and the Bruins are leading 2-1. Off the face-off, it's taken by Mike Bullard. Bullard able to circle and then throw one that Moog nearly gave up. The puck popped up in the air out of the glove of Moog, forced away by Bork, but taken by Keith Acton. Dumps it along now for Sinisalo, trying to pull away from Bork, and Bork right on him. Deals it back off to Bullard. Tries to get around. Sent one there that was knocked away by Moog. Bullard once more, hit hard by Ken Lintzman. Lintzman, while falling, tries to play, then controls to his stick and lofts one that plops back to center ice. Heady play there by Ken Lintzman. Hoffman dropped it right back in. It angled on Moog, and we get an offside call against the Flyers, stopping the clock with 1:19 to go in the third.
Well, this is where your play along the boards is either going to make it or break it for you. The Flyers had real good pressure. Mike Bullard was part of it. Ilka Sinisalo was part of it, and so was Keith Acton. But the Bruins were able to hang tough. Ken Lintzman made an outstanding play, falling down and getting up and dumping it out. And this is the one that popped up high. The fair catch was called, but Andy Moog ended up dropping it. And now we've got Boston using their timeout with 1:19 to go. And this is a time for Andy Moog to take a breather, but it also gives the Flyers a chance to set up what they want to do offensively. But you got to know the big reason the Bruins took their timeout is so that Ray Bork, number 77, could take a rest. He has been out there just about all of this period since Bob Gould has scored. So in the last 6 or 7 minutes, he has been out there just about all the time.
Just taking a look down at the bench now, and yes, he was sitting up on top of the ledge there, catching a bit of a breather. First period of this game didn't see that much in the way of hitting that we've grown to expect in Bruins-Flyers contest. Second period did. Third period has been very carefully played. The Bruins got a goal from Bob Gould to break a 1-1 tie at 12:43.
There's got to be a set play working on this faceoff. Carter's up on the left side, and Craven is back, playing the right point.
Craven sneaks a word with Ron Sutter.
You know, I think if Sutter wins the draw, Craven might just try a hard around and have Carter backing in on the left side. We'll see what happens if Sutter wins it to Craven. There it is. Now he's coming this way with it.
To Howe, and Howe plays it around, but it was blocked down before it could get in, and then when Kartner stick-handled around, a couple of the Flyers were in the zone. So one of the more critical facets of that whole play, winning the face-off, did occur, but after that, not what the Flyers had hoped.
You know what happened? Terry Kartner, being a defenseman, moved up to the left side. When Craven got the draw and moved it over to Mark Howe, the guy that Terry Kartner had lined up against broke away from him and came over and pressured Mark Howe very quickly. So sometimes you give away a little bit just in how to play a certain situation when you invert guys positionally.
Well, what would you think? Same thing this time? Well, they mix it up a little bit. Ken Reggett has crept out to the hash marks, really beyond that. If the Flyers win this draw, he'll head for the bench. Every Flyer standing now. Paul Holmgren even standing on top of the bench. Bruins win it. And it is shuffled back out by Galley along to Lintzman. Couldn't get through Howe. Reggett flipped one off of Howe, but it is scooped up by Craven. Murray Craven dips behind the bench in the final, rather behind the net in the final minute of play, and headed toward the bench now is Ken Reggett. It is Craven turning away from Burke, lofting one off the glass that comes back down near Bork. Bork flips it, and it goes out of play, and the face-off will be where the Flyers want it, back in the Bruins zone with 46 seconds.
You're right, that's exactly where they wanted. That's not what Ray Bork wanted to do at all, but he was under pressure from Ron Sutter. And when he got it, he tried to bank it off the glass so that it would go high up back into the ice surface in the neutral zone, but he just missed the bank. The puck ended up bouncing over the glass, and into the stands. So no time for a timeout. There aren't any left for either team. Terry Carter's still up in the left wing position. You got to figure he's going to be in front jamming away and trying to create some type of screen. Big, strong guy. Rick Tocchet is out there as well. Mike Bullard at center. Ron Sutter on the right side with Craven back and Mark Howe back.
Well, it comes down to Ken Lynchman and Mike Bullard for this face-off. One false start. Bullard angry. He's going to be chased out by Pat DiPuzzo, and so that will leave either Sutter or Tocchet. I think Sutter to take it.
Yeah, well, the Flyers have all their top face-off guys out there. Dave Flulin's the only one that isn't. Ron Sutter's still there, so is Murray Craven. So there's no shortage of quality guys for them. They're not going to lose much by Bullard being thrown out and Sutter going in.
Total concentration on the part of the two centermen. Pat DiPuzzo to drop it. Dennis Morrell holds up play for a moment. Lynchman stick down. Sutter soon to be. Wins it. Back it comes to Craven. Shoots one. Save Moog. Rebound. Another save. Off of Tocchet by Andy Moog. Still the puck loose. Howe pinches trying to keep it alive and does. Howe gets it back over to Tocchet. Send one in front. Knocked down by Moog. And in all of that traffic, he's able to hang on. Boy, the Flyers got a couple of great chances, but Moog shut the door both times. 31 seconds to go.
You're right, Mike. If the Flyers don't tie this one up, it won't be for lack of chances. Ron Sutter went in and ended up winning that draw clean. You saw how much time Murray Craven had once he won the draw. Watch this. Sutter won it back clean, and Craven had all kinds of time. Everybody stayed with their man. Finally, somebody broke through to him. Rick Tocchet got the rebound, so that's 2 shots on Andy Moog. Galley tried to dump it around high on the glass. That's how they're trying their out, but Mark Howe kept it alive. Moved it back into Rick Tocchet. And then it came out in front for another whack at it. Mike Bullard had a good shot at it, so that's 3 shots on Andy Moog in that sequence.
Moog calmly tends his crease as another big face-off about to take place, and Ken Lynchman again will be the guy to take it for the Bruins. Ron Sutter getting the guys where he wants them. And now wades in. Applause reaches a crescendo. 31 seconds to go. Flyers need 1 to force the overtime. Bruins able to clear it to the corner. Bork sends it around, but it's cut off by Bullard. Has Kirkner in front. It was blocked down by the defense. Still they were. It is Mark Howe able to keep it alive. Dumps it behind. Moog out. Locked up with Bullard. Puck dumped along the boards. Lynchman tries to clear. Squirts through Murray Craven. 14 seconds to go as Neely shoots it wide. Moving in for this now is Bobby Carpenter. Carpenter pivots. Gets away from the checking of Kirkner. Down to 5 seconds to go. Flyers will have to hurry to get a shot. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Bullard moving along. Checks to the wall by Galley as the horn sounds. And that one ends the game. Just checking to see if Mike Bullard is all right as you see the Bruins celebrating around Andy Moog.